Picture this. You're at a coffee shop and you see someone walk in with a dog. But this isn't just a dog on a leash. This is a dog in a stroller, wearing a hand-knitted sweater, with its own personalized water bottle. The owner orders a puppuccino, pulls out their phone, and starts taking photos for Instagram. Say hi to everyone, Mr. Whiskers. Show them your new booties. You watch this and you may think, that's a bit much, right? But then you look around. The woman at the next table is celebrating her cat's birthday, complete with a custom cake from a pet bakery. The guy in the corner is video calling his dog at home, asking the pet sitter if baby had a good nap. This isn't rare anymore. This is everywhere. Pets aren't pets anymore. They're fur babies. They're little princes and princesses. They're children with 4 legs and a tail. And here's the question nobody's asking. Why? Why has this become so widespread, so normalized, so emotionally intense? Is it just that we love animals? Or is something deeper happening here, something psychological, something that reveals a profound truth about modern human life? I'm about to show you that treating pets like children isn't a quirk, isn't a joke, and definitely isn't just about loving animals. It's a sophisticated psychological response to 3 massive deficits in modern life. This is the inverse mind, where we don't judge behavior, we dissect it. And in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to expose the hidden architecture behind the fur baby phenomenon, reveal why it's so addictive, and show you how to maintain this beautiful bond without losing yourself in it. If you've ever wondered why someone spends $3,000 on their dog's birthday party, or if you're that person and want to understand what's really driving you, grab that popcorn bucket and stay right here. Let's begin. The modern phenomenon. Let's establish what we're actually talking about here. This isn't about simply loving your pet. Humans have loved animals for thousands of years. Dogs have been companions, cats have been household fixtures, and people have always cared deeply about their animals. But something has shifted dramatically in the last 20 years. We're not talking about giving your dog a nice bed. We're talking about buying orthopedic memory foam beds with cooling gel technology. We're not talking about feeding your cat good food. We're talking about preparing home-cooked, organic, grain-free meals with supplements recommended by a pet nutritionist. We're not talking about taking your dog to the vet when it's sick. We're talking about pet insurance plans, regular therapy sessions, anxiety medication, and acupuncture. Birthday parties with themed decorations. Professional photo shoots and matching outfits. Dedicated Instagram accounts with thousands of followers. Gender reveal parties for pets. Grief counseling services when they pass away. This is a massive cultural shift, and it's not happening in isolation. Studies show that millennials are delaying having children or choosing not to have them at all at higher rates than any previous generation. Birth rates in developed countries are plummeting. Traditional family structures are evolving. And at the exact same time, the pet industry is exploding. We're talking about a $130 billion global industry. More money is spent on pets than on personal entertainment in many households. This isn't coincidence. This is compensation. Something in modern life is creating a void, and pets are filling it. But what void? What are we really seeking when we dress our dog in a Halloween costume and call them our baby? That's what we're going to uncover. And it starts with the most powerful psychological driver of all, the crisis of unconditional love. Driver 1. The crisis of unconditional attachment. Let's talk about something every human being craves: unconditional love. From the moment we're born, we need it. Babies don't survive without attachment. It's not just about food and shelter, it's about emotional bonding. We're wired for it at the deepest biological level. In childhood, if we're lucky, we get this from our parents. They love us when we're screaming at 3 a.m., when we're throwing tantrums, when we're terrible and messy and demanding. That's unconditional attachment, and it shapes our entire psychological foundation. But here's what happens when we become adults. Adult relationships are complicated. They're messy, they require negotiation, they involve conflict. Your romantic partner gets annoyed when you leave dishes in the sink. Your friends judge your career choices. Your family has opinions about how you should live your life. Every adult relationship is conditional. There are expectations, there are boundaries, there are ways you can fail. And this creates a constant, low-grade anxiety. Am I being good enough? Am I meeting their needs? What if they leave? What if I disappoint them? This is exhausting. And deep down, part of us is still that child who just wants to be loved without having to earn it, without having to negotiate it, without the constant fear of losing it. Enter the pet. Your dog doesn't care if you got fired. Your cat doesn't judge your political views. Your pet doesn't care if you gained 20 pounds, if you're socially awkward, or if you failed at your New Year's resolutions. They just love you. End of story. This is what psychologists call radical acceptance, and it is psychologically intoxicating. But there's more. There's actual chemistry happening here. When you look at your pet, when you pet them, when you play with them, your brain releases a hormone called oxytocin. This is the same hormone released during breastfeeding, during intimate moments with a partner, during deep emotional bonding. It's literally called the love hormone, and it creates a powerful feedback loop. You pet the dog, you get a hit of oxytocin, you feel good, you want to pet the dog more, you get more oxytocin, and the cycle continues. This chemical reward is immediate, consistent, and predictable. Unlike human relationships, which are unpredictable and sometimes disappointing, the pet delivers every single time. You become, quite literally, addicted to the safe, unconditional emotional exchange. And here's where it gets really interesting. The brain doesn't differentiate much between the oxytocin released when caring for a pet versus caring for a human child. The nurturing circuits light up the same way. So when you baby talk to your dog, when you worry about their comfort, when you feel genuine distress at the thought of them being unhappy, you're not being silly. You're activating the same maternal or paternal instincts that would activate with a human baby. But here's what the inverse mind sees that most people miss. The intensity of your pet-parent relationship is often a direct measure of what's missing in your human relationships. If you find yourself more comfortable expressing affection to your cat than to your spouse, that's data. If you feel more unconditionally accepted by your dog than by your family, that's information. If your pet is the only relationship in your life where you don't feel judged, criticized, or conditionally valued, that's a red flag. The pet isn't truly a child. The pet is an emotional surrogate. A safe, non-threatening placeholder for the unconditional love your adult ego desperately needs but is too afraid to ask for from another human. And that brings us to the second driver, and this one runs even deeper. Driver 2, the erosion of narrative purpose. Let's talk about purpose, about meaning, about the question that haunts every human being. Why am I here? What am I supposed to do with my life? For most of human history, the answer was clear. You survived. You contributed to your community. You raised children. You passed on your knowledge, your values, your genes. Purpose was built into the structure of life itself. But modern life has fundamentally changed this equation. We live in an era of unprecedented safety and comfort. Survival is no longer the primary challenge. You're not worried about getting eaten by a predator or starving through the winter. Community bonds have weakened. We live in cities where we don't know our neighbors. We work in corporations where we're replaceable. Traditional sources of belonging and contribution have dissolved. And most significantly, many people are choosing to delay or completely forego having children. Now, I'm not saying everyone should have kids. That's not the point. The point is that for millennia, raising children was the default source of nurturing purpose. It was where you directed your caregiving instincts, your protective energy, and your need to be needed. And when that channel disappears, either by choice or circumstance, it leaves a void. A psychological and emotional space that's screaming to be filled. This is what I call the nurturing deficit, and it's massive. Think about the emotional energy required to raise a child. The constant vigilance, the planning, the worrying, the daily rituals of feeding, bathing, protecting, teaching. This isn't just work, this is profound meaning. It's a reason to get up in the morning. When that's absent, where does all that energy go? For many people, it goes directly into the pet. The elaborate feeding schedules, the constant health monitoring, the obsessive research about the best products, the enrollment in training classes, the worry about their emotional well-being. This is transferred nurturing. This is maternal and paternal energy finding an outlet. And it works. It genuinely provides a sense of purpose. When you wake up and your dog needs to be fed, walked, and cared for, you have a reason to get out of bed. You are needed, you are responsible for a vulnerable life, you matter. But there's another layer to this. In a fragmented and atomized society where traditional identity markers are weak, the pet provides instant social identity. You're not just Sarah from accounting. You're Sarah, the devoted owner of 2 rescue beagles who fundraises for the local animal shelter. You're not just Tom who lives alone. You're Tom, the cat dad with an Instagram following who advocates for pet adoption. The pet grants you a ready-made narrative. It signals to the world that you're compassionate, responsible, committed, capable of love. These are all things we desperately want others to see in us. And in an age of social media, this identity is performable. You can post photos, share stories, collect validation. Look how much I love my fur baby. Look what a good parent I am. This isn't cynical. This is human. We all need to feel seen, valued, and appreciated. The pet parent identity provides that in a clear and socially acceptable way. But here's where the inverse mind must sound a warning. While this surrogate purpose is fulfilling, it can become a form of sophisticated escapism. It's easier to succeed at raising a dog than to succeed at contributing meaningfully to human society. A dog's needs are simple: food, exercise, affection. Success is measurable. The dog is healthy, the dog is happy. Human problems are infinitely more complex. Raising a human child is unpredictable, frustrating, and full of moral ambiguity. Contributing to your community means navigating conflict, dealing with disagreement, facing failure. The pet offers low-stakes mastery. You can be an excellent dog parent without ever having to grapple with the high-stakes, existential challenges of human life. And that's comfortable. That's safe. But it's also a delay mechanism. It's a way to feel purposeful without facing the messy, difficult, uncertain work of deep human contribution. The question isn't whether you should love your pet. The question is, are you using that love as a substitute for or as a complement to meaningful human engagement? And that brings us to the third driver, and this one is fascinating. Driver 3, the projection of the ideal self. The third psychological driver is something incredibly powerful: projection. We don't just love our pets for who they are, we love them for what they represent. Think about the qualities people praise in their animals: loyalty, unconditional love, simple joy, living in the moment, non-judgment, enthusiasm, authenticity. These are precisely the qualities that are difficult for us to maintain in our own complex, conflicted and anxious human lives. Your dog doesn't overthink. Your cat doesn't worry about the future. Your pet doesn't carry resentment, doesn't hold grudges, doesn't lie awake at 3 a.m. catastrophizing about everything that could go wrong. They're living embodiments of the ideal self we wish we could be. And by caring for them, by dedicating ourselves to their well-being, we get to participate in that ideal. This is what psychologists call a mirror of virtue. When you spend $300 on organic pet food, when you wake up early to walk your dog in the rain, when you cancel plans to stay home because your cat seems anxious, you are demonstrating to yourself and to the world that you are good, selfless, responsible, and loving. The pet becomes irrefutable external evidence of your moral integrity. This is a powerful and self-affirming cycle. The more you invest in the pet, the more you prove to yourself that you're a good person, and the better you feel about yourself. But there's another aspect to this: symbolic mastery. In a world that often feels chaotic and out of control, the pet is something you can master. You can control their diet, their schedule, their environment, their training. You can research the best products, implement the optimal routines, achieve measurable results. When someone compliments how well-behaved your dog is, that's a compliment to you. When your cat is healthy and content, that's evidence of your competence. The pet becomes a tangible symbol of your organized, successful, and morally upright life. In a world where so much feels uncertain, where career success is unpredictable, where relationships are complicated, where global problems feel unsolvable, the pet is the one area where you can demonstrate clear, visible mastery. But here's where the inverse mind must intervene with a warning. This projection, while psychologically satisfying, can cross into dangerous territory: anthropomorphism. Anthropomorphism means attributing human characteristics, emotions, and motivations to non-human entities. When you start to believe your dog is experiencing complex human emotions like guilt, jealousy, or moral judgment, you've crossed that line. When you start to burden your pet with emotional expectations they cannot possibly fulfill, treating them as a substitute spouse, a therapist, or a best friend in the human sense, you create problems. For the animal, this creates confusion and anxiety. Dogs need clear boundaries, consistent leadership, and species-appropriate interaction. When you treat them like a human child with complex emotional reasoning, you deny them what they actually need. And for you, it traps you in a fantasy loop. Your emotional needs are being met by projection, not by reality. You're avoiding the necessary work of building genuine human intimacy. The pet cannot replace a partner, cannot replace a friend, cannot replace a therapist. And expecting them to do so is unfair to both of you. So what's the solution? How do we love our pets fiercely while maintaining psychological health and authentic relationships? That's what we're going to solve right now. The inverse mind principle of authentic attachment. Alright, let's get practical. The goal here is not to stop loving your pet. The goal is not to feel guilty about the bond you share. The goal is authentic attachment, enjoying the relationship for what it actually is, not using it as a replacement for what it can never be. Here are the inverse mind's 3 pillars for balancing this powerful bond. Pillar 1. Conscious allocation of nurturing energy. The first step is awareness. You need to consciously identify where your nurturing energy is going. Sit down and do an honest audit. How much time, money, and emotional energy do you invest in your pet versus in your human relationships? Are you spending 2 hours a day training your dog but haven't called your best friend in 3 months? Are you researching the perfect diet for your cat but ignoring your own health? Are you more emotionally available to your pet than to your partner? This isn't about judgment. This is about data. Once you have that data, here's the inverse rule. For every hour you spend exclusively focused on your pet, spend 30 minutes reaching out to a neglected human connection. If you dedicate your entire Saturday to your dog, schedule 1 coffee date with a friend during the week. If you spend Sunday grooming your cat, send a text to a family member you haven't spoken to. This consciously diversifies your emotional portfolio. You're proving to your brain that human connection, while more complex and occasionally disappointing, is also safe and rewarding. Here's a concrete example. Let's say you have a friend who's been asking you to hang out, but you keep declining because you don't want to leave your dog alone. Next time, instead of declining, say yes. Arrange for a pet sitter or ask if your friend wants to do a dog-friendly activity. The point is to stop using your pet as a shield against human interaction. Pillar 2. Embrace low-stakes mastery with clear boundaries. The second pillar is about maintaining reality. Enjoy the simplicity of pet care, enjoy the mastery you achieve, enjoy the clear feedback loop. But don't confuse it with the complexity of human life. Here's the inverse rule. Reaffirm your pet's identity as an animal, not a human child. When your dog has a behavioral issue, don't interpret it through complex human psychology. Don't assume they're acting out of spite, guilt, or moral judgment. Use established animal training methods, clear communication, consistent boundaries, appropriate consequences. Treat them with love and respect as the animal they are. This actually reduces anxiety for the pet. Dogs and cats thrive on structure and clarity. When you treat them like unpredictable human children, you create confusion. Here's an example. Your dog barks excessively when you leave. The human interpretation might be, they have separation anxiety because they love me so much and feel abandoned. The animal interpretation is, they haven't been trained that your departure is routine and safe, and barking is a self-reinforcing behavior. The solution isn't emotional reassurance and apologies. It's systematic desensitization training and establishing a predictable routine. Stop projecting human emotional complexity onto animal behavior. Love them as the animals they are, not the humans you wish they were. Pillar 3. Reclaim high-stakes human purpose. The third pillar is the most important. You must intentionally seek high-stakes human purpose outside your relationship with your pet. Acknowledge the nurturing deficit. Recognize that your pet is filling a void, and then consciously create opportunities for meaningful human contribution. Here's the inverse rule. Find one area of human life that challenges you, involves complexity and conflict, and requires sustained effort toward human good. This could be mentoring a young person in your field. It could be volunteering at a homeless shelter. It could be getting involved in local politics or community organizing. It could be teaching a skill, coaching a team, supporting a cause. The key is that it must be high stakes. It must involve real human messiness, disagreement, failure, and unpredictability. This is where genuine existential purpose lives. Not in the safe and controlled world of pet care, but in the difficult, uncertain world of human contribution. Here's an example. If your pet provides you with a sense of unconditional love and purpose, commit to 1 hour per week mentoring a teenager or volunteering at a senior center. These relationships are conditional, yes. They're complicated. The teenager might be difficult, the seniors might be demanding, you might fail, you might feel inadequate. But successfully navigating that complexity provides a depth of meaning that low-stakes pet care can never achieve. Your pet can be a source of comfort and joy that fuels you for this work. But they cannot be a substitute for it. So let's bring this home. The intensity of the pet-parent bond is beautiful. It's a testament to the human capacity for love, compassion, and nurturing. But when that bond becomes a psychological substitute for human intimacy, when it becomes your primary source of purpose, when it becomes a shield against the complexity of human life, it stops serving you and starts limiting you. You deserve both. You deserve the simple, unconditional love of your pet and the complex, challenging, and deeply meaningful connection with other humans. You deserve the low-stakes mastery of pet care and the high-stakes purpose of human contribution. The inverse mind isn't asking you to love your pet less. We're asking you to love your human self more. Use the beautiful bond with your pet as a foundation, not a fortress. Let it fuel you, comfort you, remind you of your capacity for love. And then take that energy and direct some of it toward the messy, difficult, essential work of human connection. Here's your challenge. Right now, pause this video and think of one human connection you've been neglecting because you've been so focused on your pet. Maybe it's a friend, a family member, a colleague, a neighbor. Someone who could use your time, your attention, your nurturing energy. This week, reach out to that person. Have a real conversation. Make plans. Invest 30 minutes of the energy you usually reserve exclusively for your pet. Do yourself a favor. Leave a comment right now telling me who you're going to reconnect with. Make it public. Make it real. Because the goal isn't to choose between loving your pet and loving humans. The goal is to build a life where you're capable of both. If you want more frameworks like this, if you want to keep understanding the psychological architecture of your own behavior, subscribe to the Inverse Mind right now. We don't do surface-level content here. We do deep psychology, applied philosophy, and actionable strategies that actually change your life. Now go hug your pet, and then reach out to a human.